Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. A charity says record numbers of men are needing mental health support as bills are on the rise.
It's horrible at the minute. The cost of living is so high. That money issue is like, oh, and not only have I got all these problems, I now can't afford to live or I can't do this.
We'll get advice for anyone who's struggling. Also tonight, from flooded classrooms to festive celebration, pupils at Kilnhurst Primary invite us to Christmas rehearsals in their upgraded school. We'll be finding out why this Wentworth Woodhouse college building is being pulled down.
We're back!
And we chat to the men making children's Christmas dreams come true once again with their handmade fundraising mission.
Another very unsettled day. Tomorrow a sunny start, more rain later. Join me for that detailed forecast.
Hello, thanks for your company this evening. First tonight, as the cost of living crisis continues to affect every single one of us, charities are warning of the impact it's having on our mental health. In a moment, we'll hear from the charity Andy's Man Club, but first, take a look at this. A recent survey by the Mental Health Foundation found that 2/3 of people are most concerned about not being able to heat their home. Over 60% are worried about not being able to pay their general monthly household bills, and over 70% say they can't maintain their standard of living. Andy's Man Club started group talking sessions for men in Halifax in 2016 and it's now grown to 112 clubs across the UK. The charity has told Look North it's now seeing record numbers of men looking for mental health support and that money is one of the big issues. Here's our social affairs correspondent Emma Glasby.
It's hard to think that I'm going to open up about my problems to people who I don't know. Are they going to judge me? But then when you walk through that door, it's the best thing I've ever done, and I think that anybody who is in that position could ever do.
On a Monday night, this is where men come to talk about their worries.
So we've got 7 men that came through the door on the 11th of November 2021, and now a year later we're getting up to 40 men.
This is the Andy's Man Club session at the Castleford Tigers ground. Ricky helped start it.
Does it feel like a lot of people are struggling at the moment?
Yeah, it's in general mental health and payments and what they receive as money and what they have to pay out, it's just not enough at the moment, and it's getting on top of a lot of people up and down the country.
Ricky's mental health crisis came in 2020. He'd split up with his wife and his life was changing.
We had a breakup and I moved into a flat and became a part-time dad, and it was just so hard. Not knowing and having nobody to talk to and having to say bye to your children, it's one of the worst things ever.
Ricky tried to take his own life. He started talking after finding Andy's Man Club. Recently, he's opened up at sessions about money problems. Ricky's moved home with his mum, but the rising cost of living is a big worry.
It's horrible at the minute. The cost of living is so high. If I wasn't at home, I don't even know where I'd be, because the rent for private properties is just extortionate now. That money issue is like, oh, and not only have I got all these problems, I now can't afford to live or I can't do this.
Ricky is one of thousands of men supported by Andy's Man Club. Starting as just one club in Halifax in 2016, today there are 112 across the UK, and they're now often talking about money worries.
People are having to make the decision whether to eat or whether to heat the home. There's a lot of knock-on effects that's causing a lot of anxieties and worries in people's lives.
Last week saw record numbers attending, more than 2,300 men.
Something that we've seen in recent weeks is people actually coming to our sessions because we offer free refreshments as well. It's a free place to socialise. It's a free place to talk about the issues in your life, but we have actually seen people coming along just for a cup of coffee or for a cup of tea, and then to take part in the session. And you know, if that's not an indication that someone's struggling financially, then what is?
Although it's getting busier here every week, they are reassured to see people coming for support. The concern is for those struggling silently.
I know how hard it is. I know it's very hard to open up, but the only thing I can say to them is it is okay to talk. I know it sounds a cliche, but it is. It's a safe place to speak. It 110% saved my life. Without it, I wouldn't be sat here today talking to yourself.
Gosh, strong words there. Earlier I spoke to Sherry McDade from the Mental Health Foundation. I asked her just how much the cost of living crisis is impacting people's mental well-being.
Well, we asked people in mid-November how they're feeling across the UK, and what we heard was that more than a third of people are feeling anxious about their financial situation. And 1 in 10 is feeling hopeless about their financial situation at the moment. So we have significant concerns about the mental health effects of the current cost of living crisis.
And what are the worries and concerns that most people are telling you about?
Well, people are telling us that they're worried about heating their homes over the next few months, that they're worried about being able to afford food, that they are finding that the cost of living crisis is taking up all their time in trying to find the best deals and the advice. So it's become something that's all encompassing for people who are struggling to make ends meet.
As we've just been hearing, talking to someone about your concerns is often a huge relief for people. The government says they're investing $2.3 billion a year in mental health services. Is that enough?
So many people will never need to go near mental health services, but might still be experiencing anxiety and distress. So what we need the government to do is firstly to make sure people have enough income in their pockets to provide their basic needs. But we also need to make sure that all the public services that people come in contact with know how to respond compassionately and with awareness of the mental distress that people might be experiencing. So we need them trained to be able to provide that supportive mental health aware service.
And very briefly, anyone who's watching, if they are struggling at the moment, what's your advice?
Well, if you are struggling with making ends meet, there's lots of advice available through organizations like the Citizens Advice or your local council. So do find out about your entitlements. And if you're experiencing persistent mental distress, then do contact your GP or other emergency supports like the Samaritans 116 123.
Sherry McDade from the Mental Health Foundation, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, a government spokesperson says we understand that people are concerned about rising prices, which is why we're directly supporting households in need. They say for those who may need mental health support, we're increasing investment in mental health services in England by at least £2.3 billion a year by 2024. Well, if you know someone who's been affected by the issues raised in tonight's report, then you can contact the BBC Action Line via bbc.co.uk/action line for details of organisations which do offer advice and support. You're watching Wednesday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme. With all this miserable wet weather we're having at the moment, will the hosepipe ban be lifted soon? We'll get the latest from our Paul. But before that, let me tell you about workers at the National Coal Mining Museum in Wakefield who've been striking for better wages. They've called off further action after accepting an improved pay deal. The museum was closed for 5 days during October after members of the Unison Union rejected an initial offer, which they say was half of the rate of inflation. After talks with the arbitration service ACAS, they have accepted a rise of £1,650 plus a one-off cost of living payment of £350. Now, 3 years ago, take a look at this. This was all hands at the mop. This was the scene after catastrophic flooding across our region. In South Yorkshire, Kilnhurst Primary School was deluged after being hit before in 2007 floods. Well, now pupils are back. Look at that, in a rebuilt, beautiful classroom, and they've even been rated as good by Ofsted. As they get ready for their first Christmas concert in 3 years, they've invited us to go along to celebrate with them.
Hello, welcome to Kilnhurst Primary School.
3 years ago, our school flooded.
The River Don next door burst its banks.
I can remember it like it was yesterday. There was water in every room in the school. flood, everything got destroyed, including our works and books.
We all had to move out and go to another school.
It was really disruptive when we went to a different school, and it made me feel really frightened that we're never going to come back to this building again.
We was out of this school for 15 months.
15 months?
Yeah!
Now it's time to hear from our head teacher, Mr. Cousins,
and our assistant head teacher, Mrs. Hampshire.
To be honest, the children handled it really, really well. To be moved to a different school at a day's notice, you can't really imagine it, but they went through it, they lived through that for quite a long period of their school life as well, so the resilience was just second to none, really.
We're just really proud of all the staff, all the children, the parents, the whole community, because it's not just us here talking on camera, it's everybody behind the scenes that does all the brilliant work.
Did you know that the school has been rated as from requires improvement to being rated good, and that's what we want to celebrate. Thank you to our Community and Academy Trust for the wonderful facilities you've rebuilt in our school.
Finally, after 3 years, we're rehearsing a Christmas concert.
And we're all super excited about it.
Well, thank you for inviting us. It's so lovely to see them back, isn't it? Now, Yorkshire has today paid last respects to one of our most accomplished sporting sons, cyclist Brian Robinson. He died last month at the age of 91 and was the first ever British rider to win a stage of the Tour de France back in the 1950s. His funeral took place in Huddersfield earlier today. Paul Ogden reports.
For a cycling legend, a funeral cortege guided, of course, by a peloton of riders in Lycra. And the guard of honour that welcomed him into Huddersfield Crematorium included cyclists who'd pedalled miles to be with him.
Brian would have loved to have seen us all here, showing this tribute for him. He loved to be out and with us all, and yeah, he would have wanted us to have a good time, to be honest.
I saw him a few days before he died. Just amazing man. We did a 25-mile ride, and Brian was part of that. And then at the end, the people who were there were disabled. One was autistic with learning disabilities. Absolutely loved him, and he just made them feel at ease and welcome, like he did with everybody.
Brilliant that you wore the cycling club jerseys that were so close to his heart, but I believe you've got something special on underneath the top layer.
This is a replica jersey of his famous win in the Dauphiné Libéré, which was his best GC win ever, and the one he was most proud of. Yeah, and we'll really miss him, to be honest. Yeah, we will.
Unusually for a memorial service, in fact, cycling gear was permitted today, encouraged even, though 8-time Tour de France stage winner Barry Hoban preferred the more formal look.
I just followed his efforts to break into the pro scene on the continent with so much appreciation, and I think, wow, that must be great to do that. And he was, if you want, my I had many heroes in the early years, but Brian was my first one.
Brian Robinson was held in, quite rightly, in unique respects in the cycling community. It's a small sport, it's a minority sport, but it's very, very close-knit. And all the recent success, you know, the Tour de France coming to Yorkshire, Cavendish, Wiggins, before them, Boardman, tracing it back, it all started with Brian Robinson.
Though now departed, Brian Robinson's influence will continue clearly beyond those who have ridden their bicycles with him, and still will, without him at their side. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North.
And just picking up on that Tour de Yorkshire, the Tour de France coming to Yorkshire, we shared lots of lovely chats with Brian here at Look North around that time, sending lots of love to his family. Next tonight, from 1950 until the mid-1980s, thousands of female PE teachers passed through a college set in the grounds of Britain's finest country houses. The students of Lady Mabel's were accommodated in the palatial surroundings of Wentworth Woodhouse in South Yorkshire. Well, now the college is being demolished to make way for an improved experience for visitors of the mansion, which is undergoing restoration. Phil Bodmer has been to take a final look around.
Maintaining a property on this scale has always been expensive. In the 1940s, the Earl Fitzwilliams, the owners of Wentworth Woodhouse, needed a tenant to pay rent and help with its upkeep. They found one, and in 1950, Lady Mabel's Physical Education College for Women took in its first students. The 1970s breeze block and timber-clad building, constructed to provide additional classrooms and a pool in the grounds, has always sat uncomfortably alongside the historic mansion.
It's a long time, Ian, since anybody walked these corridors, I would imagine.
Yeah, quite. Mid-80s, we think, and it's quite a big job that we've got. Come and have a look.
Bulldozing the derelict college will provide a fresh perspective to the property.
So we're bringing down the modern college buildings at the rear of the stable block in order to facilitate the new car park for our visitors, to replace the temporary car park, which is going to lead to a much grander sense of arrival for our visitors.
By any measure, in 1972, the 25-metre swimming pool was state-of-the-art. It had a 6-foot 6-inch deep end and a 5-metre stationary diving board.
The villagers used to come here for swimming lessons, the children and adults, for lessons and also for recreational purposes. So I used to have to lifeguard those. Obviously keep the place clean, and as you can see it's empty now, but I've scrubbed all those tiles as well.
Former Rotherham United goalkeeper Ray Mountford remembers the cool pool post-trading playing a big part in the Millers' success in the 1980-81 season.
I'm quite sad really, Phil. Obviously I've got fond memories of it. I've not been here since 1980, and to see it being pulled down, you have to think everything has a lifespan, and we know it's going to make way for a wonderful facility for this Wentworth Woodhouse. But it's still quite sad to see that 30-ton monster ripping it to pieces.
The rubble from the pool and classrooms is staying on site to be crushed into aggregate for landscaping and a new car park. Wentworth's past paving the way for its future. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North, Rotherham.
Now, I know it's not December yet, but it's not too early for a bit of festive cheer, is it? No, I'm sure it's not. A team from Leeds are taking time out from their fencing and decking business to make hundreds, and I really do mean hundreds, of wooden Christmas trees to raise money for charity. For the third year running, Reese and his colleagues have been selling them to buy toys for disadvantaged children. But this year, they really have stepped it up a gear. Jacob Tomlinson went to meet them.
It might not look like the North Pole, but inside this West Yorkshire warehouse, Reese and his team are busy making Christmas magic.
We're back!
Last year, selling these Christmas trees made from fence posts raised more than £10,000.
10 trolleys. I bet we're about halfway there, if that.
That money bought hundreds of toys, which charities gave to families across West Yorkshire.
Hundreds of kids are going to have a Christmas that they've probably never had. The phrase for this is, it's nice to be nice, innit?
Last year, Reese and his team made almost 850 trees. This year, they've made over 1,000 already, with a plan to make around 5,000 trees. And the reason why, in fact, Reese, what's the reason why?
It's nice to be nice, yeah.
It's nice to be nice.
But it's always a good feeling when you're doing something, innit? When you're helping people. I never had a great deal of everything when I was a kid. You know, plus everything's tough now, isn't it? We've got like nearly everything you'd ever want in life, you know, but some people have got nothing, absolutely nothing, you know. So it's nice to give a bit back, innit?
Let's just get it out there, share it as much as you can, and let's hit 50k, at least. 50 grand's 5 times more than what we did last year, so it's go big or go home.
Reese and his team only have a few weeks to sell all their trees. That'll leave enough time to buy the toys and, of course, get them to Father Christmas on time. Jacob Tomlinson, BBC Look North.
Let's meet the Yorkshire Elves, shall we? We have Reese, Martin and Nathan. Welcome. Thank you for bringing in your wares. They're fantastic. Reese, just remind us, how did this all start?
Started from a £50 donation to a friend's fundraiser, and then went out in garden that night, seen a load of wood in garden, thought why not make 100 trees, let's raise an extra £1,000 towards this fundraiser. Within 24 hours I'd sold 250 trees, and here we are now 3 years later, nearly already 2,000 trees deep.
Yeah, it's just brilliant, Martin. And you were delivering some of those gifts last year to the children, weren't you?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was hard. It was a good feeling, a bad feeling. It's hard to explain really unless you're actually there.
It was touching.
Yeah.
Touching's the word, yeah.
It was well
people
touching.
that bought the trees, you could tell the reason why we're doing it, they've been there. Do you know, it were hard, but good at the same time.
Yeah, humbling experience.
Yeah.
And what about you, Nathan? 10 grand in your back pocket, let loose in a toy shop. What was that like?
It was fun, to be fair. I just want to wipe them all off like a supermarket sweep. They wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, it's every kid's
We've got
dream,
to do it this year.
Yeah, I think we've
got to do it this year with 50
trolleys we had.
So let's talk about this year, because that's quite a target, isn't it? You've gone from 800 trees to 5,000 trees. You need a full-blown Santa's workshop for that.
Well, we've been given a bit of help from a local farmer in South Milford. He's chucked us his big unit, gas lines, electric. Most of all, we're dry. That's the main thing, and we can turn out more trees per day than we can doing one load in the back garden that we've at my house.
So £50,000 is your target, Martin. Where's that money going to go?
Various charities around the country, around the area. I think Reece has been in touch with somebody at Nottingley, I believe.
Yeah, the Old Quarry Playground in Nottingley, they're going to be a big part of our fundraiser this year. We're working with a lady from Brigshaw High School. She's given us a lot of help in working with the vulnerable families in the area, mostly Leeds 25, Leeds 15. We're going to work with them, and I'm pretty sure we'll pick up a few more along the way, because 50 grand's a lot.
It really is. Nathan, how much is this needed in your area?
I think it's needed everywhere, really, but obviously you've got to start somewhere, so I think starting in our local areas is going to be a good
You don't realise what were going on in the local area until I spoke to the lady from Brigshaw, and she gave me a number of how many families just in our area that were struggling.
And how many's that?
Well, we're over 100, and we're not a massive village, So
for anyone who's watching and they want to help and they want to buy one of the trees, where can they find you?
Come to one of our Christmas markets, find us on Facebook, top of us page, we've pinned a post with all the markets we're going to. We're at Kippett's Christmas Lights tomorrow, on Friday Nottingley Morrison's, on Saturday Queen's Mill Castleford. Friday we're hoping to set up a collection point from one of our addresses. So. And
I can't help but notice the reindeer, limited edition.
Yeah, limited edition.
He's going to fly off the shelf.
Only 3 per market day. We're going to take 3, first come, first serve.
Can you put my name down, because my kids would love one of those?
Of course we will.
Yeah, I'll take the first one.
You can take that one if you want. We brought that to see. Yeah.
Sold. Thank you very much. Best of luck to you all, guys. And just remind us one more time, why do you do this?
Because it's nice to be nice in it.
It is nice to be nice in it. Thanks, lads.
Perfect.
Certainly is nice to be nice, and obviously with the rising cost of living crisis, it's going to be affecting many Christmases this year. Are you scaling back your celebrations? Are you doing more to support people in your community? We'd really love to hear from you in the run-up to the festive season. You can email us look.north@bbc.co.uk. And I wasn't kidding, I really did buy it.
It's fantastic.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Paul, it's been really wet, too soggy for my little friend here. What are reservoir levels looking like? Because many people will forget we are still under a hosepipe ban.
In a hosepipe ban, yes, it's been very dry, but then October came and it's been very wet, hasn't it, in November? So just let's have a look at the figures. This is where it stood when we had this chat last month. You can see we've had quite a recovery from that minimum in September. So where are we as it stands at the moment? Reveal the graphic. Look at that. And they've risen by... Get excited. Wow. They've risen by 13% in the last week alone. So that's quite a rise, isn't it, Amy? I thought that was really interesting.
So hosepipe ban?
The hosepipe ban remains in place. Yorkshire Water will look to lift it as soon as they can, but they are being a bit cautious, and that's because, despite the rain we've had and the rain that's forecast, they're still below average, and the long-range forecast, believe it or not, for winter continues to show a signal for a much drier than average season. Whether that comes off anyone, can guess. But it does look as though the winter period could be much drier than average. So Yorkshire Water are being quite cautious. They'd like to see the reservoirs fill up even further, but I reckon if this continues for much longer, then it won't be long before those hose pipe bans will be lifted, so you'll be able to water your lawn.
Oh, can't wait.
Right, let me show you a few pictures that you've sent from a spectacular sunrise this morning. Red sky in the morning, Shepherd's Warning, of course. That was Scarborough, that was Sheriff Hutton, North Yorkshire, the epicentre of these beautiful pictures. And this is the best of all. That was taken from a drone in Bulmer in North Yorkshire. Keep those pictures coming in. And if you want to have a look at those rainfall figures again, I've tweeted them at Hudson Weather. What are you waiting for? Let's have a look at the headline then for the next 24 hours. More rain in the forecast. So if you've got anything to do tomorrow, do it in the morning. Lots of sunshine, but in the afternoon we'll see a short spell of heavy rain moving in from the west, courtesy of that active weather front. And then for Friday, it's not looking too bad, although the Pennines could see a scattering of showers. The weekend, slowly we bring some rain and drizzle into western areas. The east may well stay dry on Saturday. Then some heavy rain Saturday night. Sunday, after a wet start, things should improve with some sunshine. And just subtle hints slowly through next week. Pressure may well build, so things just starting to settle down at long last. There's that weather front that brought the heavy rain, awful conditions this morning. Behind it, we've got a few showers currently running into the Pennines. So over the next few hours, I think we'll see those showers at first across the northwest, gradually fizzling out, all parts becoming dry with clear spells, quite windy. If you've got shelter from the wind, a touch of ground frost, lows of 3 or 4 degrees. So tomorrow gets off to that bright, sunny start, but it won't last long. I think by late morning it's clouding over. That's that weather front bringing a short spell of heavy rain with some quite strong and gusty winds, but it's no more than a couple of hours of heavy rain followed by that clearance, as you can see on the map. Temperatures around 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. Looking a little bit further ahead then, on Friday, most of us will be bright with some sunshine, but there is a hint that we could see a scattering of showers in Pennine areas. Saturday, a bright side, it clouds over, some rain and drizzle for western areas staying dry further east. A wet start on Sunday, brighter later. Temperatures drifting down next week as slowly we become somewhat drier. That's the forecast.
What do you think we should call him? Or her?
Oh, you're asking me now. Woody.
That's a good one. Woody the reindeer. The kids are going to be so excited. That's it from us. Hannah Grace here with your late news. Bye-bye.